I never thought I would become the victim of a stalker. I always thought those things only happened in movies or to other people, but I was wrong. Dead wrong. It all started innocently enough. I was walking home from work one evening, lost in my own thoughts, when I noticed a man following me. At first, I thought it was just a coincidence, but as I turned down different streets, he stayed hot on my trail. I could feel his eyes boring into my back, and the hairs on the back of my neck stood on end. I picked up my pace, trying to shake him off, but he matched my speed effortlessly. Panic started to set in as I realized this was no coincidence. This man was following me, and he wasn't going to stop. I quickened my steps, my heart racing as I darted down a side alley, hoping to lose him, but he was still there, a shadow in the corner of my eye. I could hear his heavy breathing, and I knew he was getting closer. I burst out of the alley and into a crowded street, hoping to blend in with the other people. But it was no use. He was still behind me, his footsteps getting louder and more urgent. I ran as fast as I could, my heart pounding in my chest. I had to get away from him. I couldn't let him catch me. Finally, I reached my apartment building and practically flew up the stairs to my apartment. I slammed the door shut and locked it, leaning against it as I caught my breath. But the sense of relief was short-lived as I heard a knock on my door. I froze, my heart dropping to the pit of my stomach. It was him. He had followed me all the way to my home. "Who is it?" I managed to choke out, my voice trembling. "It's me," a deep voice replied. "I just wanted to make sure you got home safely." I let out a sigh of relief, realizing it was just my neighbor, Mr. Jenkins. He was always a little too friendly, but harmless nonetheless. I opened the door cautiously and was met with a friendly smile. "Sorry to startle you, dear. I saw you walking home from work and thought I would check on you." I thanked him and quickly closed the door, my heart still racing. But as I tried to calm myself down, I couldn't shake the feeling that the man who followed me was still out there, waiting and watching. Over the next few weeks, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Everywhere I went, I felt his eyes on me. I started to see him everywhere, in the grocery store, at the park, even outside my office building. I tried to brush it off as paranoia, but deep down, I knew it was real. And the worst part was, I had no idea who this man was or what he wanted from me. One evening, as I was getting ready for bed, I heard a noise outside my window. I cautiously approached it and pulled back the curtains, my heart stopping as I came face to face with the man who had been stalking me. He was tall and muscular, with piercing blue eyes that seemed to bore into my soul. He had a sinister smile on his face, and I knew I was in danger. I quickly closed the curtains and called the police, but by the time they arrived, the man was gone. They assured me they would keep an eye out for him, but I knew deep down that he wasn't going to stop. The next few weeks were a blur. I couldn't sleep, eat, or function properly. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw his face, his eyes, his smile. I was living in constant fear, never knowing when he would strike next. And then, one night, it happened. I woke up to find him standing at the foot of my bed, a knife in his hand. I screamed and tried to run, but he was too fast. He pinned me down and held the knife to my throat, his eyes filled with a twisted pleasure. "You should have never ignored me," he whispered in my ear before disappearing into the night. I was left, traumatized and terrified, not knowing what to do. The police were never able to track down the man, and I lived in constant fear of him returning. Years have passed since that night, and I have never fully recovered. Every time I see a stranger on the street, I can't help but wonder if it's him, if he's come back to finish what he started. The experience has left me scarred for life, and I can only hope that one day I will be able to move on and live without fear. But for now, I am forever haunted by the stalker who turned my life into a living nightmare.